we want to briefly talk about sustaining the campaign. I've had an experience of running different campaigns that I would call, I think, at the beginning I said bubblegum campaigns. They failed to get traction. They failed to run the course. They failed to get the impact that we wanted them to have. They failed to create the narrative, to formulate public opinion. And I think the big thing and the big issue around it was that we never anticipated the cost of running campaigns. With the How Far campaign, one of the big issues in terms of sustaining your campaign is that you have to anticipate the costs. It costs money to run an effective campaign at a national scale. But what I realized from the campaigns that I've run before is that it also costs more to run one that has no effect and no traction. You would have spent anyway. It could be your energy, it could be your ideas, it could be financial resources that you actually put into it, but you only run half or quarter the way and no impact. There's nothing, it's bubblegum, it's not sweet anymore, it doesn't have traction anymore, and it falls by the wayside. So it's important for you to think about sustaining your campaign financially. We've spoken about the movement building, that people can actually continue to run with it. We have spoken about building allies. We have spoken about having it being personalized by different people, decentralizing it, ensuring that there is no one center of power. So all that is anticipation of the cost and ensuring that you build on your campaign. And one of the big things that I learned in running a campaign is that without pivoting, the context in terms of running a campaign is very treacherous. You cannot read it. What you may have planned to do today will not happen. I think we planned to put 10 billboards or so in each of the 10 provinces. We put slightly lower than that. But some of them were being defaced and bent, and it meant we had to be replacing them. Yeah. And that needed a budget. So in terms of sustaining the narrative, the campaign and the presence, and pivoting as well so that you remain relevant and you continue to touch on that raw nerve until you get the response, it means that there is need to budget for pivoting. And what I learned from at least working with the agency is that there's a lot of marathon thinking that has to come into play.
True that. So the idea is once we launch a campaign, we call that the sprint phase because we're in high speed and we're hitting high ground, but it doesn't happen forever. And sadly though, most CSOs, the would-be clients for us, no one wants to come here and declare that they've got X budget because everyone's looking at how do I save the next dollar from not going into that campaign. But the idea is if you understand that you can pivot your campaign at some point, you can change the sprint into a marathon. And once it's a marathon, you know that you're going to execute these activities in segments that are manageable. You have to sprint maybe for the first 8 to 12 months, but then also say, okay, I can't sprint forever. The billboard budget that we have for the How Far campaign was not going to be sustainable for 5 years. No. There's no way anyone can run a campaign like that. So the idea was we put in the billboards, we sprint as much as we can, but we get into a marathon mode. We change the focus, we change the playground. And the idea was if we can engage as many people and bring them to a platform that we can control, or a platform that is cheaper to access, put people on email, put people on the website, put people on the application that we then launch with the campaign, you'd then be able to sustain a campaign for much longer than being in a sprint mode forever.
Yes. So sprinting forever, you will not last forever. So you have to know that we launched How Far 1.0. We had to launch a How Far 2.0, which was now focusing more on the digital platforms. We ran a real talk, asking critical questions to policy holders, to solution holders, to policy makers. We ran the info around in 4 minutes. That's a news channel where we wanted to be raising awareness. We were in different spaces. We launched an application around monitoring and tracking abuse of state resources. So it's a marathon that we are then saying this is the route that we are going. So it's pivoting from the sprint. You cannot sprint forever. If you sprint forever, it will not last forever. That is one of the big lessons that we want to leave with you in running a campaign.